Well, good afternoon and welcome to the porch. Now we're, of course, not on the porch as you can plainly see. We're actually in our new studio. We haven't quite got it finished yet, but we're working on it. We're thinking maybe another couple of weeks and we'll have it done. And that's not because we have that much left to do to it. It's just the time that I have to spend on it. And I don't have a lot of time to spend on it. But we're just out here this afternoon relaxing and well, I say this afternoon. It's actually 8 o'clock at night right now, but we're relaxing. We like to come in here. It's a nice, comfortable place. Relax and enjoy some peace and quiet. And I got some new equipment that I wanted to try out. I've got the camera on a gimbal right now. I've never used one of them, so this is a first. And so we're going to try this new equipment out and see what we think about it and see if it works good and let you guys just kind of get a little bit of a look at the new studio. Fact of the matter is, let me just kind of do a pan around here and let you guys see. Now it's a little messy right now. We're still organizing it, but we're kind of proud of it. But let's give you guys a look around here. Okay, guys, that's kind of the grand tour. It's a 10 by 10 room, so grand tour doesn't last very long, does it? But we're kind of proud of it, and it's going to make us a nicer place to do videos off and on. Now we're going to continue to do them on the porch when the weather's will allow us to, but it's dark out there right now, so we're just going to go ahead and use the studio here anyway. So I've been kind of thinking about a subject for 2 or 3 weeks now, and it's kind of a simple subject, but I think it's one that it would help people to at least think about. And what I mean by that is to think about where you stand in some of these things and what you can do to make a difference. Because here's the thing about this old world we live in, guys. Pretty simple thing. One of us can't change the whole world, but all of us can make a change in it. And every little thing that each and every one of us does contributes to those changes. Now, having said that, let's go into the subject. And the subject's going to be, let me see if I can think of the best way to put this. It's about thinking for yourself, having critical thinking. Don't go along with the crowd and just think what the crowd thinks. Now, we live in a world today to where media tries to control what you think, and different medias are controlled by different people. And I don't know the backstory on all that. I'm sure that's done on multi levels, many different ways. So I'm not going to try to talk about something I don't know a lot about. But I do know, just on a very simplistic basis, that each individual has to choose what they're going to think here, regardless of what they hear. Now, here's the way to do that is if you hear a subject and you don't know anything about it, probably be a good idea not to talk too much about it. Now you can ask questions about it, and that's really a good place to start. Learn about it from multiple different places. Don't always learn about everything from one place, because you got a one-sided view, and that view is never complete. That I promise you. But if you'll look at it from multiple different views, as a general rule, get educated, and you'll begin to put the picture together where it makes sense to you. Then you can talk about it, and then you can make a decision about how you want to approach those subjects and how you want to believe in them, and whether you want to support them or not, or should support them or not. Now, I could sit here right now and easily name a dozen different contentious subjects in our world today. And they're all over the news media for the most part in different ways. And And you got one side wants you to think this way and one side wants you to think that way. And as a general rule, if you listen to one side of it, you're only going to get what they want you to think, because that's all they're going to tell you. And it doesn't matter which side you come from, guys. I know we like to pick sides, and that's all right. Let me say this. If you're going to pick a side, pick the truth. That's the side you need to be on. And for the most part, we don't get that from the different entities out there that are trying to peddle their narrative. Let me give you a little illustration. Just the other day, I was listening to a particular subject, and they did a little experiment on this subject. They took a number of different people from different backgrounds and things, and they had these people read the facts about this particular subject. Now, these people were kind of on the other side of the fence on this subject, but they tricked them into reading these facts. And it was just an experiment, so I'm going to say that was all right, but they tricked them into reading these facts. And one of the young men at the end of that, I could tell as he read those facts, I could tell he was bewildered, and he figured out that he'd been duped. Not by the people that were showing him the facts about this subject. And I'm not going to tell you what the subject is, because this ain't about the subject. This is about the way we respond to things and the way we think. This young man looked at that, and with a bewildered look on his face, he said, he said, I didn't know anything about this subject. He said, I just picked a side. And he said, I picked a side without knowing anything, and he said I was wrong. Now, you see, that's what should happen. When we find out what the truth is, we should move toward the truth. And he needed to research it more, because he was hearing their side of it at that point. But now these were statistical facts they were letting him read. But he needed to go back and make sure that those facts and where they came from was legitimate, okay? Do your due diligence. Pick a subject and pick a side, and make that side the truth. I guess that's the thing I'm trying to say more than anything else. Make that side the truth. Now, a lot of times people pick a side for at least a couple of different reasons, and one of those reasons being that everybody they hang around, they've already picked a side, and sometimes they can be very compassionate about that, and they can be wrong. And if you pick a side because you want to fit in, you're not being your own man or your own woman. This is a sad thing for people, especially young people. But step out and say, it doesn't matter what everybody I'm around thinks. I want to know what the truth is. Ask questions, do your research, and figure out what the truth is. And then you can help your friends if they're in error. You can show them the facts and sometimes help them. Sometimes you can't. I've seen people that didn't matter if you showed them proof and it was good solid proof. Sometimes people get so stubborn they're just going to go ahead and believe what they want to believe regardless. Unfortunately, that happens all too often, and I've seen it on a big scale before. And I've seen people believe things that were just totally ridiculous. Maybe someday I'll go into a couple of those stories. But once you start looking at the facts and figuring out things, then you can make better decisions on where you're going to stand because you know the truth. If we're going to speak on a subject, here's a simple thing to think about. Think about, okay, if somebody asked me about that subject and I wanted to make sure that I felt good about what I was saying to them, how would I do that? Well, you would want to know that you could go back and say, well, here's what I believe and here's why I believe that. I did some research and here's where I did the research and here's what the statistics say on it. And here are the people that did the statistics on it. And give people some background for why you believe what you believe. Now, throughout the years, I've been acquainted with a lot of different religious factions over the years, and I won't name them, but it's been a lot of them. I've studied a lot of different religions. And an interesting thing about religion a lot of times is people will say, here's what I believe. And I say, okay, that's great. Help me understand why you believe that. You will be surprised at how many of them can't articulate that at all. Well, I just believe it. I just believe it. Well, that could be called faith, and I guess to some degree it is faith. But I would say this: if you're going to have faith in something, have a reason for having faith in it. Study it out. Even the Bible talks about, it says a man that answers a matter without knowing anything about it's a fool. So I would say the Bible really tells you, as a religious person, it's not just Christianity. This is the different religions are the same way on this matter. Is that when you say I have faith in something, well, you ought to be able to articulate why you have faith in something. And that'll help people. And if you're right about what you're saying, that'll help people to know what you're saying. Because if it's the truth, they need to know the truth. And so you look at that, and so many people, I got to tell you, so many people just cannot articulate that. And I've asked this a lot of times. I've had people tell me, well, here's what we believe. And I don't do this to pick on people, but I often say, okay, if you believe that, I was going to give an illustration, but I'm going to refrain from that. But if you believe that and you act on that, there ought to be measurable results to what you say you believe. And a lot of them, well, I don't know why, but there's not. Well, if you're going to believe something and you're going to live by that, know why it works or don't work. If it don't work, you may want to reconsider what you believe. And if it does work, then you can articulate that to somebody else, and it'll be a help to them. Now, I'm not going to go in a lot of detail with this subject tonight, but at some point I really want to go into this kind of systematically because of the world we live in today, and people just believe in anything and everything they hear. And again, it is almost, well, it's kind of heartbreaking to hear people be asked questions about what they believe and they can't articulate why they believe that way, but yet they've taken a staunch stand on these things. So what I'm saying is this right here. Don't let people dupe you into believing what they believe just because they're a big part of the crowd. That's not a reason to believe something. The reason to believe something that is true, you can go back on the evidence, you can articulate why you believe that, and you're standing your ground because it needs to be stand. Now here we are, guys. The truth is the only thing that's going to stand when all the smoke clears, okay? So try to understand what that truth is you believe, and that can be on a lot of different subjects. But when you decide to have a conversation about it, understand what it is, articulate that well to the other people you're around. And I've been in some really, really heated discussions, I guess I want to say, heated discussions about different matters. And a lot of these, they really are. They people can be very passionate about what they believe. Be the guy that can answer the questions. Be the guy that's standing on something solid instead of just something somebody else has told you or something somebody else has tried to convince you of. Now, if you just want to offer one side of the evidence to somebody to prove your point, don't do that. Tell them the whole truth. Don't tell them just enough to get them to believe what you want them to believe. And don't listen to people that try to do that. Folks, hear what they've got to say, but then hear what the other guy's got to say too. Somewhere between those 2 points, you'll usually find the truth. Okay, with that said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this video, but thanks for listening to me, and we love you guys, and glad to show you around the studio this afternoon or tonight. All right, God bless.